So, Avengers Endgame is finally here, breaking box office records on its first weekend hitting theaters. Everyone is talking about it, or at least they're talking about it so you don't talk about it and spoil it. Don't spoil it. Behave. So this review is going to be spoiler free, but I have to tell you guys now, that's kind of hard to talk about this movie without getting into spoiler territory, but I'll try my best. I'm gonna end up making a spoiler video anyways because I just really like talking about this movie. Also, the footage I'm using is probably just going to loop off the same couple of trailers because some of the new stuff has spoilers in it. Don't worry friends, you're safe here. After the huge success of Infinity War, the audience was left on a huge cliffhanger and wanted more, so the hype and expectations for this movie was really high. That kind of thing is dangerous for any franchise, but not so much for Marvel. We're at a point now where although yes, a couple of Marvel movies in the past have gotten negative fake review bombs, Marvel can still do whatever they want. Their reputation is so good now that a movie can be praised to the heavens and be seen as amazing, when in reality the movie is just mediocre at best. Yeah, I'm looking at you. So, is Endgame one of those cases? After 10 years of films, did they drop the ball in the grand finale? The big question here, does it suck? Well, actually no. Go figure, it's actually really good. Now, I've only seen the movie twice so far, but I'm going to try to break it down as best as I can. Reviewing a movie like this is actually very tricky. I say this because you have to look at the qualities that make this movie good and not be blinded by the fan service too much. Fan service should be the icing on the cake. It should make you go from liking a movie to loving a movie. You should not be using it to save a movie. You can have an amazing fan service scene showing something that hardcore comic book fans have wanted to see on the big screen for years. But if your movie is hot garbage, then it doesn't work. The scene loses all meaning and purpose because your movie still sucks. Like, look at this. This is awesome. How did you mess this up? Anyways, this movie calls back to pretty much every other Marvel movie before it. So even though I'm a huge fanboy, I had to look past some things just to see if these elements worked as a film. Now normally when I think back on how I feel about a movie, I like to go over what I liked first. But I'm going to do things a little different this time. We're going to start out with the stuff that I didn't like. Don't worry, it's only like one thing, and even then, it wasn't that big of an issue for me. The pacing. The movie is obviously a direct sequel to Infinity War last year, so since it takes place directly after that, it is a bit slower. Now, it's not the overall pacing I have a problem with. It's that there are quite a few individual scenes that are awkwardly paced themselves. Some scenes just drag on a little too long, and not even by much either. The ones that do don't drag on for any longer than a minute. And a scene will serve its purpose, but instead of it ending, it'll just drag on for like an extra 10 seconds. Then you'll see that with another scene for 15 seconds. There are other scenes where I just wish the pace was picked up just a little bit more. If they just got to the point of the scene maybe a few seconds faster, then it would have been fine. But because this is apparent in multiple scenes, it kind of pulled me out of the movie a bit. Now, like I said, I don't have a problem with the overall pacing of the movie, but a good amount of people do, especially when you compare it to Infinity War. Like, there are no breaks in that movie, so it does come down to preference. As I said, I was okay with the overall pacing. It allowed characters to have fleshed out arcs that they didn't really get before. Now, people don't like that it starts out slow, but you know what? It's paced like a comic. Anybody that's read an event from start to finish knows what I mean. Outside of that, a lot of my issues and concerns are addressed in this movie. With that being said, let's get into the stuff that I liked, which is pretty much everything else. The characters. One of my personal issues with Infinity War was that Captain America didn't really get much to do, and Hawkeye was just nowhere to be found. Well, in this movie, Cap is basically a main character along with Tony Stark. Hawkeye also returns to join our original Avengers Goon Squad. All of your favorite heroes in the MCU that weren't in Infinity War are definitely here now. Although, there is one person that we didn't get to see join our beloved heroes in this movie. I'm just saying. Marvel, please feel free to slide into my DMs. You could pay me in snacks, or a meeting with Elizabeth Olsen, or both. You know, whichever. Anyways, since the beginning focuses more on our characters, pretty much everyone gets an arc, or their arc from previous movies carries over and is wrapped up in some way, shape, or form. Now, I can't go into specifics for obvious spoiler reasons, but all I can say is that I liked everyone's arcs. All of them. Characters that you were either unsatisfied with or indifferent towards before, well, you might actually like them this time around. Also, the musical score, special effects, and cinematography was amazing in this movie. Seriously, some scenes are cranked up to 11 purely from these elements alone. Next up, the story. Like I said earlier, I can't get too deep into this because of potential spoilers, so I'll keep it brief. The overall story of this movie is just awesome. As the story progresses, so does the pacing and overall tone of the movie. It just flows really well. But the elements they use to progress the plot is so wild. Marvel just was not afraid to do something different here. They decided to go crazy, and I loved it. With this, proper flow, and great execution, it made this movie so fun to watch. I absolutely love when they do weird stuff, because a lot of the other Marvel movies are pretty monotonous. My favorite ones are the ones that tend to stick out. This movie definitely caters to a more hardcore audience, so I was fairly concerned that some elements of the story just would not work for a film as opposed to it only working because it's a comic book movie. But it does. Not only can the casual fans enjoy this movie, but I have a couple of friends that I wouldn't even qualify as casual fans. They're like less casual fans. I say this because they had only seen like Guardians of the Galaxy and Infinity War. That's it. They knew some of the Marvel characters in the MCU because they're such a huge part of pop culture nowadays, but they didn't know all of them, nor did they have any interest in watching their respected films. Despite that, there was still a lot of things they were able to enjoy about the story and the movie as a whole. Think of Infinity War and Endgame as Disneyland, where the hardcore fans are the thrill seekers. There's the Disney portion of the park that's tailored for everyone, mostly a younger, more casual audience, but everyone can find something to enjoy about this portion of the park, even the thrill seekers. Infinity War is the Disney portion of the park. It's got enough for the general audience and enough for the hardcore fans too. Then you have the actual amusement park, and that's across from the Disney park. This one is mostly catered to the thrill seekers, but there's still enough for the general audience. Endgame would be the amusement park of Disneyland. A casual fan might miss out on a few things, but that doesn't detract from the overall enjoyment. And then of course, there's the finale. The grand finale of this movie is everything I ever dreamed of and everything I didn't even know that I wanted. It's definitely the biggest action set piece in the MCU. It's shot really well, the effects are amazing, there's just so much going on. I've seen it twice and I still didn't catch everything. It was so good. There is so much fan service here and it's used properly. This is the icing on the cake. This battle will hype you up and will have you cycling through so many different emotions. I still can't get over it. It's something you have to see. Overall, the movie concludes the Infinity Saga in the only way I would accept. You will laugh, cry and cheer with laughter. It'll make you rush to the bathroom because this movie is over 3 hours long. I said that I have seen this movie twice in theaters, and you know what? I'd even see it a third time. So yeah, if anyone's interested, I'm free all weekend. I have to give this movie a 9 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it's pretty damn amazing. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's worth it, I assure you. And if you have seen it, watch it again. Seriously, this movie is so close to knocking Avatar off that #1 spot. It's been #1 for roughly 10 years now. So it's time for another movie to take the throne. And this movie definitely deserves it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. I will be making a spoiler video going more in depth on my points to better understand why I gave it the score I did. So keep your eyes out for that. Thank you so much once again, and I hope you have a wonderful day.